Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be sharing my personal house rule / variant for Martin Wallace's new game, Rocketmen. After several plays of this and essentially experiencing the same thing, I think there might be a better way to play this game. First off, I think the game is really cool. So let me start off by just telling you a little bit about the game. It is a deck building game with space exploration at its heart. Now, the deck building aspect is pretty traditional. You have an option of several different cards that have all these really cool abilities and skills and bonuses that players definitely want to get when it's their turn. The kind of up in the air aspect to the game is the exploration aspect, which is very risky. It is a luck-driven component to the game, and if you tell me that you just need to plan better, I would love to show you my statistics of how well I planned, how well my opponents have planned, and how poorly time after time after time it ended. So what I'm trying to do in my variant, which I call the booster pack variant, I think it's kind of thematic, and it definitely gives you the feeling that it's just that extra little boost you need to be successful the next time you try to go to Earth, Moon, or Mars. So this booster pack variant essentially helps mitigate against bad luck. Now, where does bad luck come in? On the card draws. There are a certain number of cards, and there are values 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And these cards don't all appear in the same amount, so it's more likely that you will draw 1s over 4s and even over 0s, for example. Now, when you go out on a mission, you get to draw cards. If you're going to Earth, you draw 3 bonus cards. If you go to Moon, you get 4, and if you go to Mars, you get 5. Now, these card draws are brand new shuffled every single time, and so you can imagine one player might flip over cards and get 4, 2, 3, and they're absolutely making it to Earth. Or, as you can imagine, you can, with a lot of bad luck, continue to draw 0s and 1s, and no matter how far along the path you are to get to Earth, I'm talking Earth here. I'm not talking I want to get to the Moon or Mars. Like, I gave up that hope after my 3rd play of this game. So if you just want to get to Earth and you've got bonus movement because of your matching symbols on your cards, or because you have bonus cards that say you get to move a step forward on the path, great. If you're anywhere between 2 and 4 steps heading towards Earth, you should statistically make it to Earth. Well, not every time, and definitely not time after time after time after time. So here's my booster pack suggestion. This is my variant to help when players continually fail or choose to abort a mission because they don't think it's going to be successful. Now, if you fail a mission, you have failed every turn that you took building up to that because you lose all your cards, and you lose the turn that you are on trying to get to whatever planet, you lose all your advantages, and you go back to scratch. You just go back to 0. If you abort, you're allowed to stay with the cards you have, but you have to take one card out for each card that you've drawn over 1. So if you draw a card and you think, well, this isn't a good start, you can just abort and you don't have to get rid of anything. But if you start drawing more and more cards for your Earth, Moon, or Mars trip, every one after that 1 is going to cost you a card if you don't fully go to the end of that particular draw. So the abort is, I think it's there so that it's not just all successes or failures, but the abort doesn't necessarily help you succeed. It just helps you not fail. And so that's one of my problems with the abort option. So I've got 3 things that I want to suggest to you that will help mitigate the bad luck in this game and perhaps make it more enjoyable, because the game is cool. It's fun. I like the idea of it. I love going on missions and adventures, and I love building my deck so that I can be successful. I like that. And it's got a really strong theme. So here's where I suggest some changes. The first thing that I would suggest is a thing called rat points, rat tails. Now this I take from Quacks of Quedlinburg. Players who are not in first place are allowed to take rat points. And you look at the track on the victory point track, and you see how many rat tails are between you and the leader on the victory point track. And every rat tail that you see, every rat, essentially allows you to move your starting position in the potion on your big cauldron 1 space. Every turn you get to do that. So in this game, I imagine there being rat tails. Now there aren't rat tails on the victory point track, so you would need to create them yourself. I'm actually just going to use the colored spaces that aren't normal based on the background. That's all I'm going to do. So it's not really that much in the beginning because everyone's still building their decks and you're kind of failing, and everyone's failing at about the same rate. So I'm going to say that you look at the track, and once you start seeing blues and purples and other colors, that's going to be where you start marking those rat tails. So the rat tails will help people get 1 or 2 or 3 steps closer to whatever mission they're on. You just move the rocket ship that many spaces on the exploration track when you want to actually launch. So it gives you the extra boost to be successful so that you can potentially catch up to your opponent who is ahead of you. So the first thing, rat tails. That's my first suggestion for the variant. My second suggestion is when you fail or you abort a mission, you get a little chip. And this little chip just gives you 1 step closer on the exploration track the next time that you want to launch. It just says, hey, guess what? You failed or you aborted and you lost something potentially, particularly if you failed, you lost all your cards. You get to have a little bit of a boost because you spent all of these turns previously and it was for nothing. It was for absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, your opponents are potentially moving ahead of you, and it's very hard to catch up in this game. So I say you get a little chit, this little marker that says, I get 1 space more. Now let's say you fail again, you get another one. Let's say you fail a 3rd time in a row, you get another one. And so you keep collecting these little chits, and you get to move that many spaces on your exploration board until you succeed. Once you succeed, you discard your chits. That's it, right? You got your boost, it paid off, it helped in some way, potentially. And now you're back to, let's start with what you got. Okay, so that's my second idea for the booster pack variant. My third idea is based on my experience playing, where I had 3 turns in a row where I could do nothing. I literally could do nothing with the cards that I drew. I either had all symbols or I had all money. And I didn't have the money with the symbol that I needed, or just the symbols to actually play down with the money that I didn't have into my spaceship area that I wanted to launch. And so I could not play any cards, I could not buy any cards, and I couldn't discard because I had nothing to discard from my launch area. And so I literally did nothing for 3 turns in a row. Now, if that happens, I think there should be a little chit that has 2 sides to it. One side says plus $1, right, plus $10, and the other side says plus a wild symbol. So on your next turn, if you find yourself in a situation where you can't do anything on your turn because you need either $10 plus a symbol that you already have, or you don't have any symbols and you need a symbol, you have a wild. And it allows you to buy a card that gets new things into your deck and that hopefully prevents you from having essentially failed turns. It's not even a failed mission. For me, I think that that will prevent that lag of someone just sitting there literally doing nothing on their turn. Now I know that might be rare, but it happened to me and it was frustrating, and I obviously didn't win the game. If you're doing nothing on your turn, you're not winning the game. So that one helps with the potential clog of the cards that are in display that you're not able to buy because maybe you don't even have that symbol that's showing you have maybe one of them, or you might have already made a mission and tucked that card that had the only symbol that allowed you to purchase another card of that kind. So there are some ways that, based on just the way the game wants you to play, you may not be able to actually access the cards in the card display for purchase. Just for your reference, I'd like to give you my stats on the last game that I played and essentially what made me feel like I needed to make this video in the first place. I tried to attempt going to Earth 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. And on 4 of them, I failed completely. I was ahead on the track by 2 spaces 3 times, and I was ahead on the track 4 spaces, and I still failed going to Earth. Now, the 3 times that I essentially aborted were I was 2 ahead on the track, 1 ahead on the track, and 4 ahead on the track, and I still aborted because I was not able to make it to Earth. I tried to go to the moon twice, and I aborted once, and I failed once, and I never even made it to Mars in my last game because I just couldn't get there. So I was barely even making it to Earth. My opponent had a very high fail rate as well. So as you can see, we're not trying to do it from 0. We're not really trying to do it that often from 1. We're either at 2 or above on the track, drawing cards to get to Earth. You get to draw 3 of those cards again. And we were failing at such a significantly higher rate than we were even succeeding. I think I triggered the end of the game in the last one, so I had 6 ownership markers on Earth and on the moon, and that triggered the end of the game. I think he only had 3. And so if you look at the fail rate, that's 6, 7, 8, 9. That's essentially failing 9 times and succeeding 3 times. And what that does for me is it makes me feel bad. It makes me feel like most of the time you fail and everything you're doing and all your plans are essentially worthless and you're wasting your time. And I don't think that's the way this game wants you to feel. It doesn't have the excitement and the quick pace that it states if everyone is just constantly failing and feeling bad. It just doesn't make you feel good. And not that a game has to make you feel good and successful all the time. Now, I'm not asking for that. What I'm asking for is just a little bit of fairness when it comes to drawing the cards in the exploration phase. Every time it was 1 space away, either of us were 1 space away from our destination, we would say, all we need is a 1. We can take a 1, a 2, a 3, or a 4. We'd flip over a 0 every time. Every time it'd be a 0. And you'd think after a while, you'd say, well, there are so few zeros. I already have 1 of them drawn. How can I get the next one? And we would. And it just made the game really long, and it made the game tiring. And again, I don't think that's what this game should be. So to accelerate the game, and to increase excitement and joy, and to make people feel like what they're doing is worthwhile, I suggest adding the booster pack variant, which, again, you can totally steal it. That's it. All you need to do is just add those house rules, and your game of Rocketmen will hopefully rocket you to Earth, the moon, and perhaps, if you're lucky, Mars.